a very good game. We jumped out, they reeled us back in, and from there it kind of went toe-to-toe for the rest of the football game. This is a good team. It's, they've, over the years with Coach Leach, they've learned to win. They've done a great job of building that program and getting it to the point to where they started to win football games, and they sustained it with some very talented players. Obviously, Luke is an elite quarterback, and he's proven that for a long time. Even in high school back in the days, he was a pretty good quarterback. So they got a lot of talented people around them. Very good running backs, offensive line that's well established. A lot of games underneath those kids' belts, and a wide receiver core that's obviously very good. To me, I would say the unit that doesn't get talked about much, at least like it should, is the defense. The defense is very salty, very solid. It's a scheme that they do a great job with. Kids play hard. Herc is a great defensive tackle. They got some very good players on that defensive side also. So they're a well-oiled machine, and that's why they're winning football games right now. So it'll be a great challenge going up there and play. We're looking forward to starting preparation on them tonight at 6 o'clock.
Gary, you guys have been outscored 88-28 in the second half so far this season. When you look back on the second half of those 3 games, is there anything that you can point to that has been a common thread or anything like that as far as just not being able to get it done after halftime?
Yeah, I would. The things that we talk about that we're trying to correct and some have gotten better would be on defensive side of the ball would be, our tackling, especially on the outside edges of the defense. It was much improved last game. We let the big one get out there on the end that shouldn't have happened, but it did. So obviously it's not fixed the way it needs to be. And then I would say that's the big one on that side. And then there's those turnovers, especially in the Colorado State game that hurt us in that situation. Let it get out of hand in that scenario, and just offensively being able to sustain for a period of time and sustain that, and not necessarily touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. I'm not saying that. I said obviously that would be great if that took place, but our ability to be able to have an offense that can sustain drives, keep us on the field. Last game was, I don't know if I've seen that before with that few of plays and that little of yardage in a half of football. So when you're playing like that, it's going to be really tough for the defense to, hang in there and do their job. So those would be the 2 big things.
Gary, to that point, I think it was 9 of the 12 games last year you led in time of possession. This year, obviously, it's been a pretty big disparity. Do you have to change anything at this point schematically with the offense in order to ensure that those drives can continue?
Oh, absolutely. That's the first place to look. Excuse me. You look at you getting your best kids on the field. You look at yourself as a coach and try to put the kids in a position to where they can succeed. And that clearly did not take place last game. And so we'll absolutely look at it from a schematic standpoint. And that's what those coaches get paid to do. And at the end of the day, it needs to be productive. It needs to be much more productive to give us an opportunity to be able to compete and play and win football games. And ultimately, that's the goal. So, the responsibility falls on us to put us in a position. And those offensive coaches have good minds, and it's balls in their court. It's a big-time challenge for them to step up and put the kids in a position to be able to make plays, and then the players will react as they will, and I think they'll react in a positive way. So ball security is a big thing for us. Our turnover margin is horrible. We're putting the ball on the ground. We're putting it in bad spots at times, and those turnovers are coming at very difficult times for the offense a lot too. There's a lot of them that have been with a short field, and that makes a turnover even worse.
Gary, obviously the non-conference didn't go as you were expecting, 1 and 2, but as you look towards Pac-12 play, how do you sort of tell your guys that they can still salvage the season by, performing well against Pac-12 teams, which obviously is a very, very difficult thing to do?
Yeah, that's. I don't feel like I have to tell these kids where they're at in the season. Sure, we talk about, we've lost 2 games. We dissect those games. We communicate about it. We talk it from a team standpoint, an individual standpoint, every position group, on offense and defense, special teams, and break it down. But I don't think I have to sit there and tell those kids that, okay, now we're in the Pac-12 and, we have a long ways to go. They understand that. There's a lot of football left. There's a lot of games left. We understand it's going to get much more competitive. The challenge is take on tonight at 6 o'clock, and let's take on that moment and get through that hour and be very productive there, and then get back here in the morning and have a quality practice. And it's one day at a time, but they understand what's out there. They know the quality of opponents that we're playing this week and as we're moving through in these weeks forward. So you're right, a tremendous challenge, but that's why they came to the Pac-12. And, if you're not looking for those challenges, then you shouldn't be in an elite conference like the Pac-12 is. And so they'll be excited. They'll have energy and juice just like they had last week when they came back and the week before when they came back, and they'll continue to battle and fight. So I don't have to trick them to walk back in and compete. This team, they'll battle.
You mentioned Luke, obviously, as an elite quarterback. He exited that Boise State game twice in the second half. So are you preparing that he's going to start? Do you prepare for both quarterbacks? How do you kind of just handle preparing for their offense?
Yeah, well, the offense itself, the structure of the offense won't change regardless of the quarterback. We'll prepare no differently if it's Luke or if it's the other quarterback that's going to come in and play. The other young man came in and won the football game for him. So he obviously did some good things, and that the system is in place, and I'm sure he's ready to execute it, or whichever quarterback's in there will execute it. So we'll see. Whoever's out there we'll play against.
It was said again this weekend that players weren't as prepared at the second half again. What do you have to say to that? Is that a conditioning problem? Is that an internal problem?
Who said that?
That was said by Jordan.
Jordan
Villeman.
Jordan Villeman? I don't know. Jordan played a pretty good game to me. I don't what is said. You got to ask kids those questions. Again, I don't feel that. I thought that did we execute in the second half on the offensive side of the ball? No, we did not. But is that because they're tired? Is it because nobody's come to me with any of those scenarios or situations at all? And when I dissect the film, I don't see that at all. I saw an offense that struggled mightily with the timing and a pass rush that was different that they felt to this point. So to me, that was a gigantic factor, and we weren't real successful, obviously, running the football. And in the second half, we had 18 plays. It's hard to get anything going when you have 18 plays and a half of football. So, kids, they get into those positions, and I think if there were real problems and they're not emotionally talking after a football game, and they felt they were out of shape, they felt there was an issue, they would walk into me and communicate with me about that. And they've had none of that. So I think kids go in that spot to get to a situation of to get in and out of these press conferences sometimes, to be quite frank with you, because they're young men and it's not their MO. It's not their favorite thing to do. And, if Jordan said what he said, then, yeah, I guess you have to ask Jordan that. I can communicate with him and see where he is, but I think we're in a good spot.
Gary, you mentioned Jordan had a couple of nice catches in that game. How big is he going to be going forward, considering he's one of the leaders? And is he, giving advice that you see to some of the younger receivers because the passing game isn't quite where you want it to be just yet?
Jordan's done a nice job, absolutely. This is the best he's played. Again, it goes back to the way that he's prepared, in my opinion. He's done a tremendous job of preparing his body all year long. He continues to maintain and sustain his weight. His workout habits are great in the weight room, and it's showing production out there on the field. He's made a couple big-time catches. That one catch he made in the game going up over the top of the kid that's a big-time play, and that's what we want to see out of Jordan, and that's what Jordan wants to see out of himself. So, yes, he's definitely become, a leader in Jordan's way, which every kid, I ask him to be a leader in their own way, and he's done that. And he's really grown up, and I'm proud of where Jordan is and the way he's playing, and he needs to continue to make big plays for us, and I expect that he will, and he expects to make them.
Gary, to have no sacks at this point when the goal was 30, obviously that's not in one part of the defense, but where are the big areas of concern with why that pass rush hasn't come together yet?
That is a very good question. I really felt like we were getting a good push in the Colorado State game. Portland State game, we were chasing around an athletic quarterback that we didn't get to either, and in this last game they threw the ball hardly at all, and most of the time it was on a play action or an RPO where you didn't really have an opportunity to rush the quarterback in this last game with the number of throws and the way that they were getting that ball out, timing and the quickness that it came out. So it has to improve. That's the bottom line. Again, it goes back to it's our responsibility as coaches to give them an opportunity to get there and have a presence around the quarterback and have the quarterback feel you. Each game is different. We're a long ways away from that goal, and it will always be a goal. And I think that's a barrier that I talked about. I don't think it's a barrier. I think that's a goal that's very obtainable, and we'll continue to work to help the kids get better in that position. But no sacks in 3 games it's not good.
3 games into the season, what do you kind of see as the identity of your offense right now?
Oh, that's another very good question. You know, we want to be able to be a team that can run it, that can throw it, and sustain drives. And, you know, every drive is not a touchdown, but again, like I talked about earlier in this press conference, is the ability to sustain and have an offense that has a flow to it. And that's been very difficult. So I would say right now, offensively, we don't have a tremendous identity. You know, we don't have the ability to consistently throw it or consistently run it, and we've got to be able to find that and get the right kids in the right spots to be able to get better. So it would be a football team with not much of an identity on the offensive side of the ball right now, I would say.
David Morris was a bright spot on the defense, kind of coming in a tough spot and playing the rest of the game. Just take me back to his recruiting, because he's obviously a local kid, and I know he has always grown up an Oregon State fan. And just so, what was that process like to even get him here to then have that type of performance?
Well, David was an awesome young man to recruit. From the get-go, he was excited about Oregon State. He made the decision when he committed. He stayed right there all the way through it. That's a credit to him. It's a credit to his family, in my opinion, because there was a lot of people coming out and seeking him as he went through his senior year and as he continued to show what he could do. And it was, it kept me up at night because I think he's a special talent, and now I know he's a special talent. You see that young man do that as a true freshman. So it was a lot of hard work and a lot of true commitment from a young man in the recruiting cycle, which was, it was fun to see, and I was happy when his papers came through. I'll tell you that much. It was a big relief.
Follow up to the question on offensive identity. Ryan Null's not getting the touches he got last year. Is that because of matchups that you see, or?
Yeah, it's the you know, really our ability to be able to run the ball effectively and consistently has not been real good. And Ryan would have got a lot more touches in that last game again if we had more than 18 plays. The start of the game, the fact of the matter is we wanted to see what we could do by potentially getting some runs to maybe bounce to the outside to try to loosen it up and get AP in that position. And those are our 1 or 2 backs right now. And you know, Ryan is our workhorse. That nothing has changed down those lines. And you know, when he gets the opportunity, he'll run hard and he'll get in there and he'll pound it down the way he should. But you know, we want him to get more carries, we want him to get more yards, and Ryan wants the same thing. So he'll keep battling at it, and I expect to see him progress in a positive way.
Gary, coming off a game like Saturday, is there a temptation to make really big sweeping changes? Do you think about that, or do you want to just kind of stay the course and keep doing what you've been doing?
No, not necessarily. I don't. Not to hit the panic button. It's a great opportunity to teach. And if you look at it any differently, then you know you would see it way different than I see it. And you know, I'm not going to. I told the kids the same thing today. You know, it's our ability to be able to battle and fight together and stay in this thing together. If there's tweaks that need to be made, positions here, positions there, we always compete every day to get the best kids on the field and give them an opportunity to show their best. But to turn around and make drastic changes at this moment, you know, I don't, not within the personnel structure. You know, that's the kids are where they are. I think we've identified the best talent that we have, and we're working to get them in those positions. And we need to make sure that as coaches, we're doing all we can to help them get there. I'd like to see our overall football, you know, IQ at times, which IQ is, you know, a test of an individual. It's also a test of a coach. And to me, we can improve in that area and help our young men understand scenarios, situations better, regardless of if they're a freshman, regardless if they're a senior. There's still learning that can take place and teaching that becomes very, very important in these times.
A couple of the notable mental errors: the fair catch of the punt inside the 5, the long run at the end. Are those errors that are showing up in practice, or is it something that's surprising you and the coaches when you see them on game day?
We just need to coach them better in those situations. You know, I'm not going to stand up here and ever point fingers at anybody but myself. So I should have given T an opportunity to catch those punts more in practice, and I didn't. And we need to do a better job of putting him in that moment and let him understand where he's going to be, where his feet should be. And, you know, if he was sitting right here, he would say it's his fault. I'm sitting right here, I say it's my fault. And, you know, the long run out the backside, you know, there's a couple spots for a couple kids can make a play and get him on the ground. They didn't get it done. So, again, we got to look right back at ourselves. And we had played that defense very, 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 very well all day long. And, you know, the one time the kid pulls the ball, that's a little bit getting the moment. Who's the quarterback, where he is. That kid does pull it. The other guy didn't pull it very much. So, but that's, you know, it's us. It's not the kids in those situations.
To sort of piggyback off of that, what do you guys do as a coaching staff to adjust and to keep teaching, like you said, as you move forward?
Just do exactly what we do, you know. When you get into these moments, you take the pieces of the puzzle and you do all you can to make them fit in the right places. And you let the kids know that regardless of the distractions, the scenarios that are out there, the good and bad, you know, our plan works. And I know the plan works. I've seen it work many, many times. And I've been in this spot. So I have to help them in those teaching moments deal with the situation that they haven't been in before. And, you know, that's what a teacher does. You try to give the advice because we've been in this spot. I mean, I've sat in this position right here many, many times. And I did it as an assistant, I've done it as a coordinator, and I've done it as a head coach. And if I was afraid of those fights, I would never be here because those fights don't bother me. So you got to teach the kids and just keep showing them what are the positives that came out of it. This is why these are a negative today. And go back and work at it, and then making sure that you're giving the kids something that they can physically do. It gives them an opportunity to have success on the field.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you handling a situation like this where I know you can draw on your past experiences, but who do you lean on during these times? Like, how do you manage this situation that the team's in right now?
It's really hard. My wife right now will probably tell you I don't manage it very well, you know, and these times I have to be able to, I got to be smart about me when I get into these spots, and because I don't like it, I don't accept it. I hate it for the kids. I hate it for Beaver Nation, and you know that causes me to probably not be real smart with my own personal self sometimes, and I need to be. She reminds me of that, but it's a tough mental stretch when you go through these situations. But what brings me back is those kids. And when we get back on the field tonight at 6 o'clock, and I get an opportunity to be around them, I get an opportunity to teach them. It's great to get back out there with them and all the other kids. You know, I mean, Hunter Jarman came back on the sidelines and he was at this game, and all the kids that have been here with us, so we've gone through this process. They keep me going. They'll keep us all fighting as we roll through it. But you know, it's not easy, but it's not easy for them. But again, it's you know, we all signed up for it, right? So no one's going to feel sorry for you, nor do I expect anybody to feel sorry for us. And we need to represent this university to the best of our abilities, and I'll fight like crazy to do that.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, appreciate it. Go Beavs.